Imagine if your sales was a little bit more like the ancient martial art Aikido, where instead of brutally confronting every single attack, you step aside and allow it to flow. Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast. In today's episode, we get to listen to a speaker, Ari Galper. Ari is going to speak from stage from Super Conference, and is going to be sharing with us something that's a little bit more contrarian when it comes to sales. Now, his book, Unlock the Game, is based around the martial art Aikido, and it helps you diffuse pressure instead of trying to sidestep and hit at a totally different angle when somebody brings up an objection. But it's not just about objection handling. This is about sales in total, because Ari Galper's entire strategy is around feeling good about selling again, diffusing myths like sales is a number game and sales is lost at the end, when truly it's lost at hello. Let's see what Ari has done with this ancient strategy and how it might be able to unlock another level in your sales and maybe make it easier and more profitable all at the same time.
I don't think there's anybody that has had a bigger impact in the field of direct response than Dan Kennedy.
The legend of Dan Kennedy should be ignored at your own peril.
They're not really lessons, they're kind of laws that you live by.
Dan opened my eyes to what small business marketing looks like.
Dan teaches strategic direct response that is timeless.
His ripple effect touches people who don't even know his name.
The world as we know it was changed because Dan Kennedy became obsessed with marketing.
Welcome to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with your host, Dan Kennedy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rob Berkeley, and I'm here to introduce your first speaker. And my history with this topic goes back a long way. In 1981, I was a programmer sitting in a cubicle in the middle of Manhattan making a fraction of a living. And I realized that the sales guy that I worked with made about 4 times as much, and he was only a little bit smarter than I was. So from that moment on, I became a student of selling. And there's a saying that says nothing happens until something is sold. And this morning, that's really going to be the topic. As you all know, you can be the best direct marketer in the world, but if the marketing gets you a potential customer, and then on the way to closing that sale, you lose that customer, you've wasted your investment. But here's the big news. Selling has changed in the last few years, and if you're still selling the old traditional way, you're leaving piles of money on the table. We're lucky to have one of the world's foremost experts with us today. And I have to tell you, he really is. Sometime around 2001, I became aware of this man. And since I had studied so many different systems and selling systems, I was kind of jaded. And as soon as I started learning about his techniques and his approach, it was like a whole new world opened up. And I hope the same thing happens for you. And subsequently, over time, okay, I met him on the internet, so, everybody's fantastic on the internet, right? But as I met him and got to know him in person, he is truly the real deal. He's an exceptional human being, which you'll learn about today. He's an expert in how to build trust in the world of selling. His name is Ari Galper, and he's a creator of a very special system called Unlock the Game. Ari has created a completely new sales mindset that overturns the notion of selling as we know it today. His sales methods and strategies are transforming the way sales are made all over the world. Ari has been featured on CNN and Sky Business News. He has clients in virtually every industry using his sales system to boost their sales at a phenomenal rate. His personal insights on how to build trust between buyers and sellers continue to break new ground in the sales industry. Ari was also one of the 15 people in Dan Kennedy's mastermind last year. His techniques are revolutionizing how we do business in this new economy, which, as we all know, is really different than it had been before. And I can guarantee you that Ari will dramatically change your mindset about how to make large amounts of money with little efforts in your sales. All right, everybody, let's put your hands together and welcome my friend, Ari Galper.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? It's morning. Usually when I speak, I feel a little nervous, but for some reason today I feel calm and comfortable because I've sat there 7 years in a row, and particularly in the middle row, so Bill could see me every year and finally asked me to speak. Now, I got to tell you, I'm honored to be here because this is my second time he's invited me. Who saw me 2 years ago? A few of you? Okay, so to be here a second time, I feel so grateful because it's an honor to be talking to you and to be part of this group, a part of this membership. Been here for 7 years in GKIC, and I'm still enjoying it. So some of you may know that I live in Australia, and people ask me, how was the trip? I mean, what's the flight like? Did you, was it tiring? How many of you have kids in the room? Quite a few? I've got 3 little kids to tell you about in a little bit. We just took a vacation 2 weeks ago in Club Med in Australia. And Club Med has a little sort of a kids club. We dropped the kids off. You're supposed to be alone with your wife for a while. Well, what happened was it rained the entire week, and 3 kids were sick. So let me tell you, that plane ride was like a decompression unit. It was like my free time. So this is my vacation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to be here. Okay, let me tell you, it feels good to be here. You can probably relate to this, I'm sure, many of you who have kids right now. I'm actually a trainer by trade. I have an advanced degree in education and training. So today I'm going to be teaching you a lot of skills directly from my Unlock the Game Sales Mastery Program, right from the content itself. And hopefully after today, I'm going to challenge your belief system to such a degree that you'll never, ever again have to buy a sales CD, go to a sales seminar, or a sales webinar, because this is a game changer for most of you in the room today. I'm going to challenge your belief system, and you're going to learn a lot. One thing I learned from Dan is, if you do your great marketing, get that lead. But if you get on the phone with somebody with the lead, and sale doesn't happen, that's where it's all lost. So I figured out a way to make the sale on the phone easy and effortless. How does that sound? Sound good? Well, let me tell you, I've sat in the seat 7 years in a row now, Info Summit and the Super Conference. And when I joined, I bought as much as I could at every event. I spent an hour each day afterwards studying the CDs and the materials, reading them, taking notes. I joined the gold calls every month. About 3 years ago, Bill asked if I could join one of those calls and be interviewed. He didn't know who I was, but he heard I was doing pretty well what I was doing. And last August, I was out running, came home from exercising, and my wife says to me, "You have some kind of spam fax on your fax machine." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You have a fax from Dan Kennedy." I said, "That's really odd. Dan Kennedy, why would I get a fax from Dan Kennedy? It must be a fake fax." So I look at this fax, and it says, "Dear Ari, I've got one slot open in my Platinum Mastermind group. And I have a waiting list of about 200 people. And I've got one slot open. I've heard of what you're doing. You're changing the game. Would you like to join my Platinum Mastermind group?" I said, "This has got to be a fake fax. Why is it contact? I've never talked to him my entire life." But I felt like just you have, that he's such a brilliant guy. And of course, there's a large price next to that, a very large price. I said to my wife, "I think this is real. It's a lot of money, but what do you think?" It's twice a year, flying back, leaving the kids. And she said, "You know what? If this is the real deal, then you should do it. It's once in a lifetime to join Dan Kennedy's Platinum Mastermind group, because there's some interesting guys in that group." So I went ahead and faxed back and said, "I'm joining." And of course, right away sent a credit card slip as fast as I could believe it. And I paid and I joined Dan's Platinum group last year. So Dan and I, thank you, it was a real honor. And because I got to know Dan, and he has sort of, I won't tell anybody, but he has a kind of soft side to him. But he's a really nice guy. And I was lucky to be involved with some pretty interesting top marketers in his group. You may know a few of these. There's one guy you may know. This guy's Bill Glazer. Bill actually, I think, pays to be in that group. There's also, this guy here, Frank Kern. He's also one of the guys who we hung out with this past year. And Steven Schneider, he was here, I think, 2 years ago. Super conference, $38 million man. There is Ron Ipak, who's the guru of the auto industry. And Ben Altadonna, chiropractor, and Ed O'Keefe on dentistry. So I hung out last year with these guys, and the ideas in that room were so powerful. They rubbed off on me and really accelerated my growth and my success. And living in Australia, people always ask, "What's it like there?" You left America, you go to Australia, is it better, is it worse? And I said, can you be successful there? And I'm kind of a humble guy, and I don't want to tell people too much about my successes because it's not part of how I grew up. But real briefly, a bit about me and how I sort of came to where I am right now. Now, 6 years ago, I met my wife online, on the internet, on a dating site. And she emails me, we have a conversation, and we have a phone conversation. Then I use my, of course, no-pressure sales approach. And then, and we're having a conversation. And the next thing I know, she invites me to Sydney to meet her family. I haven't been there my entire life. I go to meet her family, fall in love with her family in Sydney. We get engaged there, and we actually got married near the opera. Who's been to the Opera House before in Sydney? Who's been to Sydney? We got married right in the Opera House there. That's us there. And then we decided to, our goal was to move back to the U.S., which we did. After about 2 months, we had a nice little gift, and that was our beautiful son, Toby, who's a very special boy. And I'll tell you about him just in a little bit. And then once we had Toby, we decided, he needs some extra care, extra attention. So we decided to move back to Sydney since she had 3 generations of family in the neighborhood there. She had cousins and nephews, so you know what? Let's give him the best he could have. So we packed up everything we had into a crate, moved to Australia 6 years ago, moved into grandmother's house, and have been there and bought our house recently, and we've been there for 6 years now. Then we had a beautiful gift 2 years later, which is our son Nathan, and now they're best friends. And about a year ago, we had one more special gift, and that is, let's not forget, little Jamie. So that's my little family there, and they've been calling me, asking me, how's it going? And I said, I'll let you know at the end of the weekend how we're doing. So that's my little family. On the professional side, a little bit about me. I've been in quite a few publications now, books. These are a series of books called Top Secrets Professional Sales, Internet Professionals. In Australia, kind of well known there as a sales thought leader. I've also been in quite a few of Dan's books. So anybody ever seen, this is the newest one, No BS Sales Success in New Economies. Got that book? I've got a chapter in that book. He's asked me to be in quite a few of his books. I'm also in the Information and Marketing book with Rob Scrub as a case study there as well. And who's had that book as well, is Sidney Barrow's book. Dan asked me to be in the back as well. I'm also a chapter in that book. So quite a few publications I've been in now, but of all the publications, all the books that I've been in so far, the most profound for me, that means the most to me, is this one. And that is called Lessons from Toby. And my son Toby, when he was born, an hour after he was born, the doctor said to us, your son has Down syndrome. And it was the most beautiful gift I'd ever gotten in my entire life. Who in the room knows a Down syndrome person? So you know the gifts they give, right? What's the language they speak? They speak with what? With love. And that's how they connect with people. And Toby's impacted my life so much that I wrote an article about him 5 years ago about how he impacted me, about the life lessons from him he's given to me, about being present in the moment, being authentic, and being true to myself, and helping other people. And from that article, I decided to send it out to my entire subscriber list. My family said, no, don't do it, it's too personal. Don't share your personal life with your business associates. I said, but this is so profound for me, I need to share it with my subscriber list. So I sent this article out 4 or 5 years ago to a lot of people, and the next day, what came into my inbox, you think? Emails and emails saying this has changed my life, it's what I need right now, it keeps me centered. I got so many emails and comments, and from those comments, I went ahead and rewrote those comments into what I call Lessons from Toby. 52 life lessons to stay centered in your personal and business life. And this has changed so many people's lives because of the message it gives us, especially at the time right now that are topsy-turvy. Who in the room feels they deserve a book like this? Yeah, how about the first person from the room right now gets a copy? First person, take action. Oh, it's, okay, whoa! Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause. Action gets results. Thank you so much. There'll be more. We'll have some more fun later, but enjoy that. I'll send that later on. It's powerful. So on the business side, I'm the creator of Unlock the Game, a contrarian sales process and approach that's going to hopefully rock your world today. It's been endorsed by quite a few people besides Dan. There's folks like, Brian Tracy, he loves it. He's been a great supporter of my program for quite a long time. And I've got a huge subscriber base and inner circle of clients of 40,000 subscribers, clients and members in my inner circle program who are involved with every month with conference calls and training calls. And we have companies around the world now using Unlock the Game across the sales team. So been around for a long time and proven over and over again. So here's what you're going to learn today. So grab your pens and papers. We're going to rock and roll. I'm going to teach you directly from my Unlock the Game Mastery Program, direct content to make sure that you change your mindset. You have stuff to use right away next week. Sound good? Yeah. All right, excellent. Here we go. So the first thing is you're going to learn today how to feel good about selling again. A lot of us went into sales because we wanted to what? help people, right? And make money. But typically, we want to help people at the same time. But a lot of us got burned over time with the old sales techniques of closing people and pressure and the awkwardness of that whole association. And it scared a lot of people away. Even top marketers don't want to touch the phone anymore because it's scary. There's a lot of in there. So I'm going to help you again feel good about selling. Does that sound good? That excited about it? All right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I'm going to get some water over here. I'm going to help you break free from anybody in the room who still feels resistance on the phone with customers or the feeling of rejection. And essentially, my system eliminates rejection. And that's a very bold claim that I'm saying today, that I've got a way to eliminate rejection from selling. And that's what I'll prove to you today. You can eliminate it for good and enjoy the act of it and make a lot more money. Thirdly, I'm going to teach you how to use natural, pressure-free languaging in conversations with clients and members to improve your conversion rate. And you're going to be surprised when I give you examples today of words and phrases you're using right now with potential clients on the phone that are causing them to push away from you. You'll be surprised by this. And lastly, I'm going to help you shift your mindset so you can be your natural, authentic self when being in a sales environment. Because you know what happens? We all of a sudden have a customer on the phone. What role do we step into right away? We're a what? We're a salesperson, right? We change who we are. We're uncomfortable. We act certain ways. And do you think the other person feels on the other side of the phone? Feels that? They do, a mile away. So I'm going to teach you today how to stay centered and stay authentic and still be extremely effective, okay? So that's sort of the core outline for today. So here's how this all began. About 8 years ago, I worked for a software company. And I was a sales manager of 18 people, and we sold software to track websites. Back then, we were like the leading provider with statistics, and it's like Google Analytics, right? Web pages, views, and that kind of thing. So I was a sales manager, but I also was in charge of the large accounts. And I've been working on this one big account for about 8 months to try and close a sale for the company. And after 8 months of conversations and proposals, I finally got this huge conference call together. It was myself and everyone on that side of the phone in New York. We were in California. This is like the call of the year. If I had made this sale, or if I would have made this sale, it would double revenues in the company. So imagine there's a lot of pressure about this call. So finally, the call came together. It was me in a conference room, and our CEO, big conference room, speakerphone, looks like a spaceship in the middle of the table. And so we got this call together. They're all ready to go. I'm ready to go. Hit the button. I say hello, and they say hello, and they're excited. And so I begin my introduction, and they say who they are around the room in the conference call. And I begin to describe what we do. I give a presentation, show them online how everything works, and I start to hear on the phone, wow, ooh, this looks really good. Like good things you want to hear, right? And they started asking me questions like, this is fantastic. How much does it cost? Where do we get this? How long have you been doing this for? I mean, these were all the questions you want to hear. There was so much chemistry on this call. It was like a love fest on the phone. Have you been there before? Yeah. You know what it feels like? When they're asking the questions, you've got the answers, and you're saying to yourself, this is how sales should be. I mean, I was getting the high five back of my shoulder already from my CEO going, nice job. They just said to me, Ari, fantastic demonstration. So I'm like, this is like the dream sales call. I've been trained my entire life for this call. I've got the CDs in my car. I got all the gurus' books on my shelves. I've done it all. I did everything I was supposed to do on this call. So it's going well. An hour going by. We finish the demonstration. They're happy. I'm happy. The call comes to an end. And we decide to catch up 2 weeks from now. I said, no problem. I'll give you a call. Follow up with you in a couple of weeks. And they said, great. Give us a call. So I'm feeling good. We're all feeling good. And I walk over the phone, and I hit the speaker button to turn the phone off. And by complete accident, something happened. My thumb, instead of hitting the off button, by complete accident, hit the mute button instead. It was so close together, I hit the mute button. And they thought I what? Hung up the phone. And a little voice inside of me said, you know what? A little angel said, well, hang up the phone. And the devil said, well, just step back for a second and go to the dark side. Go to a side where no one's ever gone before and listen in to the prospects world, a place where many of you have never been before. So I said, all right, who won? The devil. Okay? What can I say? So I pulled my thumb back, and they started talking amongst themselves. What do you suppose I heard They were talking amongst themselves. What do they suppose they were saying, thinking I left the phone? Any guesses? Nice guy. What else? I suck. Fair enough. It's actually, I can see in your faces, it's kind of hard to imagine what they would have said. But let me tell you exactly what they said, word for word. What they said was, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information. And make sure we shop someplace else. Knife insert twist. Ouch. I slowly hit the off button in a state of shock. I looked at the wall and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? I was trained in sales. I did what I was supposed to do. And I said to myself, why were they afraid to tell me the truth? What was it that I was doing that made them uncomfortable? And I started asking myself, why do you suppose potential clients don't tell people who sell the truth? What are sales reps trained to do when they hear things they don't want to hear? What do they start doing? They start doing what? Selling harder, right? And when you sell harder to someone, you start creating what? Sales pressure. And I realized at that moment, the reason why potential clients are afraid to tell us the truth in sales is because of sales pressure. And at that moment, I realized if I can figure out a way to take sales pressure out of the sales process and change my goal away from trying to make the sale, but instead try to get the truth of whether there's a fit or not, then I'll have created something brand new and increased my sales. And that's the core of Unlock the Game. It's a whole different mindset. What we teach is to have an objective of focusing on the truth of whether you're a fit or not and not the sale. And what your objective is to remove sales pressure from the process to allow the other person to come what? Towards you. Does that make sense? I'll go a little bit deeper, but it's a very profound, deep idea. And many of you right now don't even know it, but you're probably applying sales pressure to customers on the phone unknowingly, subtly, in a way that makes them not want to buy from you. And that's the core story behind Unlock the Game. And we're going to get into it now with some really core examples and stories. Make this real for you. Does that make sense? Excellent. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to challenge your belief system today. A lot of you about the sales books, you have in the back of your mind how you should be selling. And I'm going to challenge you and kind of rock your world a bit and really make you think differently about how you approach a conversation with someone in the sales process. So let's start up. A couple of myths to kind of break down. One is you fill in the blanks. Sale is a what game? Right? Where did that come from? That came from a sales rep making phone calls and the manager saying what? Keep making more calls. The more calls you make, as Dan talked about yesterday, the few you'll squeeze out the other end. Well, I believe in this new economy, it's not about how many people you call anymore. It's about how deep you go on each call. The connection 101, how authentically you're able to connect with them at a level they trust you. That is the new mantra, ladies and gentlemen. Your ability to connect with people is going to be the key, not your ability to call as many as you can. Does that make sense? There's a certain level of connection that has to happen to build that trust, and that's the core. That's the first myth. Second myth is that this whole idea that the sale is lost at the end of the process. You've been there before when you've been working with a client or proposal with someone, and the sale is lost at the end, and what do you say to yourself? Oh, I didn't close it. I could have better close it. What happened? Why did I lose the sale at the end of the process? Well, I believe that in this new economy, the sale is not lost at the end of the process. The sale is lost at the beginning of the process. In fact, it's lost at where? Hello. And I'll prove it to you right now. If someone calls your office on Monday morning and you pick up the phone and they say to you, hi, my name is, I'm with, we are a, what goes through your mind in about 3 seconds? It's over at hello. Okay? That's another big idea, ladies and gentlemen, that it has to happen at the beginning to build that trust. That's how you get the conversion rate up front, by building that trust in the beginning, okay? I'm going to really challenge you, and I see some heads nodding, which is good. You're connecting here. We'll keep going. Is this new for anybody in the room? You have to overcome objections? What can happen if you attempt to overcome an objection that somebody is telling you is true? What can be broken at that moment? Trust, right? So in our world, we don't overcome objections anymore. We Diffuse objections. Take the pressure out and reopen the conversation. And today I'll give you examples of how we do it. That'll probably shock many of you in the room, how we build that trust when the pressure comes our direction. And lastly, the whole notion of rejection. We figured out over the last 10 years with our clients that rejection is triggered. It's triggered by 3 or 4 certain things that we do unknowingly that cause the other person to push back on us. So we are able to figure it out how to take the triggers away and remove rejection. Does that sound good so far? Yeah. Excellent. Now here's the thing. My whole process of selling is based upon the idea of flowing of energy, not fighting it. Because in normal sales, you're pushing on the pressure, right? It's a conflict. So the whole concept behind Unlock the Game is based upon a martial art called Aikido. Who's heard of Aikido? Okay? You have the concept behind it. The idea is when an attacker comes your way, rather than fighting back with resistance, what do you do instead? You step aside, flow the energy so both of you don't get hurt, to control the process, right? That's the idea. So the concept behind Unlock the Game is to take the energy in that sales conversation and flow it rather than push back and forth. Would it help if I showed you a quick video of how this works in real life, the martial art? Okay, well, let's see how we go here.
It doesn't look like fighting, more like a quiet dance. And that's the beauty of Aikido. It's an elegant martial art that teaches one to propel an attack by staying calm, to greet a punch with grace, not aggression.
So if somebody's giving you that aggression, if you give it back to them, it's going to explode.
Michael Veltri runs the Aikido dojo on Connecticut Avenue. He's the sensei, or master teacher. He is also a former Marine who studied Aikido for 10 years in Japan to learn the art of not fighting.
If we have a fire burning, you can add more fire to it to try and burn it out, and that's adding aggression. Or you can throw water on it and put.
Does that make sense? The whole idea? When you feel pressure coming your way, what do? You diffuse it, right? And that's the whole concept today is Unlock the Game. I'll give some real examples now of how to do that in real life, okay? So here are the 4 keys behind Unlock the Game, okay? There's 4 elements. There's mindset, there's languaging, there's objections, and a problem statement. That is the 4 pillars behind my entire program. And since I'm a trainer, I went ahead and up a little in the right-hand corner, a little icon to show you where we are in the process. Is that helpful as we go along? Okay, so that's the 4 pillars there. We'll walk through every single one to give you a foundation behind the actual concept. We'll start with mindset. This is the mindset that we use to help people break through. Let's first review the old way of selling, though, that some of you may still be using every single day. Actually, who in the room is a bit more analytical, meaning you prefer flow charts, checklists? Yeah, it's okay, you can admit it. Process maps, okay? I'm going to make you happy right now because I'm going to show you a flow chart of how this all works. Does that sound good? Let's first walk you through the process and flow chart of the traditional sales model. Here's how it goes. Starts with this. You make your sales pitch. That's number 1. Number 2, you close your eyes. And number 3 is you hope it works. That is the sales model today, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how most people work every day. That's the traditional model of selling today. Now let's go through the Unlock the Game model, step by step. It goes like this. 1 is your goal is to get to the truth with your clients, not the sale. From that conversation, transparency occurs. Open conversation. They begin to share with you what their problems are. When a client tells you what their problems are, then you can decide together if you're a what? If you're fit. If you're fit, then you move forward towards the sales process. If you're not a fit, then you say thank you and move away. Now, where's the big difference here from traditional selling? See the yellow box there? In sales, we're taught when we hear a no, what do? We keep going, right? But what we realize is it's more pragmatic and more effective to know the truth of whether you're fit or not before you start chasing people down the path. Who knows what a pipeline is? Yeah? Okay. How many of you right now have a pipeline of people you're chasing? You've emailed people, called them, and they haven't called you back. Few of you? Most people in sales have that. Well, the reason why is because they haven't been able to ever before get to the what? The truth of whether there's a fit or not. And this is where I cross over most sales programs, is we realize that if you're effective at building that trust with someone, they tell you where their problems are, and there's a fit there, then you can decide whether to move forward or not. Does that make sense? It's the most pragmatic way of selling because you're working with high qualified people who want to buy from you versus chase everybody who moves. And that's the old school way of selling is if you have a prospect, just go chase them. Okay? That's number one. I'll tell you a quick story. How many of you know what a gatekeeper is in business? Okay? I actually have 3 gatekeepers. 3 people who protect me from inbound random phone conversations. Okay? Like Dan does, in a way. A few weeks ago, somebody called from my website and it got through all 3 gatekeepers. Pretty good, huh? My phone rang in Sydney. I pick up the phone, and I hear this. They say, hi, I'm with XYZ company. It's a big company in the country. We're looking at bringing in a sales thought leader, a guru. We're looking at you and 2 other people. And we want to know why you're the best and why we should go from you, because that's our first part of our process is to sort of identify if we should hire you or not. So why should we go with you? This is an inbound call. So he wants me to start doing what now? Selling. That's how we've been trained to operate in the game. Is your response supposed to be what? Well, let me tell you why I'm the best. But unfortunately, I learned that by pushing someone and not going to the truth creates sales pressure. So you want to hear what I said? So I took a deep breath. I always try to take a deep breath and stay calm because even me, it's hard not to want to jump at that opportunity. And I said this. I said, well, isn't it interesting? Because over here, our company, we have the same process as you. We have a phase 1. We ask some questions, collect some information, decide if we're a fit or not. Would you be open to that? The next thing I hear is nothing. Just complete silence on the phone, not a word back. But a minute later, he says to me, in a quiet voice, oh, okay, what kind of questions do you have for me? And next thing I know, we're having a natural, normal conversation, going back and forth. I determine in that conversation, 1, he's not a decision maker. 2, he has no budget. And 3, he's just curious as to what I do. And I just nicely sent him off to some free information on the website. He was happy he went off his only way. But what did that just save me? Months of. Chasing the sale, hoping, and it's a drug that most of us take unconsciously called hopium. You know what? Oh, honey, guess what? I got a call. It looks so good. I got an opportunity. I'm so excited. That's how we live in this hopium world, a drug that goes through our bodies. The minute someone says, I want to buy from you, we just jump, right? Isn't that true? Because we have never been trained before to ever be centered and get to the truth with people, right? Because in the game, we know if we get interest, we start to do what? Chase. And when we chase, we create what on people? Pressure. You get the concept now? So I'm showing you today how to remove that pressure from the process. And the interesting thing is, people begin to come towards you versus you chase them. Does that make sense? You like this so far? Okay, let's keep going then. So that's the process that I followed on that call. Let's now talk about languaging. Now, interesting on languaging is, I grew up with a very dominant, controlling mother. Anybody have that in their life? Probably not. No one in this room. No. Oh, some people. And I remember growing up at the dinner table, she'd do all the talking, and we do all the listening. And to get a word edgewise with her, I had to be so careful with my languaging not to set her off. And through that adversity, I created my own unique set of words and languaging that's pressure-free, that gets in with people in a way where they trust you. And that's my own unique concoction I created in my program. No one in the world has. And right now, I'm going to share with you that languaging. Does that sound good? To break the resistance. This is my gift to you today. So let's give some live scenarios. Let's say scenario number 1. Let's say you have a call with a potential client on the phone. This first conversation is going well, going back and forth. Call's coming to an end. What are we taught to do in traditional sales at the end of a sales call on the phone? What are we supposed to do next? What are we supposed to say? Yeah, let's move forward. You ready to go? Let's move the process forward, right? What can happen if you attempt to move the process forward and the other person isn't ready yet? What can be broken right there? Trust. Right there, right? So in our world, our goal is to diffuse that pressure to bring out the truth. So here's what we do at the end of a call with a customer. At the end of the call, rather than saying, hey, let's move things forward, let me call you Friday. we say this. This is our language. You can write from a mastery program. An example of it. We say this. We say, we'll write this down. Where do you think we should go from here? And I'll say it again. Where do you think we should go from here? How does that change the environment? What are they thinking right now? They're in the driver's seat. What else? They're not being pressured. First of all, they're in a state of shock. They're in a state of shock. They can't believe they're being treated like a what? A human being. Unbelievable. A human being in a sales conversation. And what's interesting is, when you understand the power of the languaging and the delivery of this and the mindset, what happens is they begin to tell you what? The truth. And they say things like, well, I've got one more question. I'm not sure about this. And if they're qualified, they're going to say, how about we move things forward and give me a call on Friday, and they set the appointment. How does that sound? Let me ask you a question for those of you who aren't non-believers so far. Have you ever made a sale in your life without even trying? Anybody? Didn't try and work at it? It just happened naturally? Yeah, some of you? What you did subconsciously is what I have put into a conscious system. Does that make sense? So you're aware of that in a way that drives people towards you. They don't feel they want to work with you. You with me on that so far? Want some more languaging from my program? Let's do some more. How about this? Someone calls your office on Monday and says to you, send me information about what you guys do. I'm on your website. I'm interested in what you guys do. What's the typical response we're supposed to do in sales when someone says to us, send me information? Sure, no problem, right? Yeah, what's your information? We have it sent out to you, and I'll give you a call, and then I'll follow up, right? What could be 3 hidden agendas behind send me information? Hidden behind that concept. What could they be thinking? Piss off? What else? Using you? What else? Get rid of you? No one as yet has told me maybe they're really interested. Isn't that funny where our mind goes? So in our world, our goal is to get the truth. So what we say is, we say this, not a problem. Would you be open? Would it make sense to first identify what 2 or 3 issues are you're trying to solve? Then we can figure out what to send you. It's fascinating what happens when you say that. What do you suppose they do next? They begin to open up. Because you're focused on solving their problem. Let's try another one. I'm sure most of you, who in the room uses the word follow-up? I'm going to ask you today to banish that word forever. Because what's the only industry that uses the word follow-up in business? Sales. And the minute you call and say, hi, I'm just kind of follow up, what are they thinking? He wants to move things forward to make his sale. So we have replaced the word follow-up with a non-momentum-based word that reopens the conversation. Who wants to know what that is? When we call back, we say, I'm just giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our last conversation we had before. How is that different? What does that do to the conversation? How do they perceive you? Somebody who's human wants to hear them out. What's interesting here is when you begin to take the pressure out of the languaging, watch the words you're using that's not putting pressure on people, they begin to open up. That's a sample of language. We have languaging phrases for every scenario you can imagine. From inbound calls, asking for meetings, kicking off your meetings, following up with people, free trials. We have languaging for every phrase in the little cards we created for our clients. They're really cool little quick reference cards. Would this be helpful to have next to your phone? Are we languaging for every scenario? We break them down by scenario, by languaging. Let's do some more examples here. The third key behind Unlock the Game is objections. Okay, we've been trained to overcome objections. In fact, here is the old way of handling objections. One is to overcome it. defend yourself, which creates pressure, which then prevents a dialogue to occur. Let me walk you through our model. See what you think about this one. Our model is this. We first diffuse the pressure, then we listen to what they have to say, and we reopen the conversation. Let me do an example, a live example for you. Tell me if this ever happens in your world. Anybody ever tell you your price is too high? No, you don't get that. No, that's not common. Oh, a few of you. Okay. So how do you handle now if someone says to you on the phone, your fee is too high, your price is too high? What's the response? This is not a trick question. What's the response we say now? If someone says to you, your price is too high, what do you say? You get what you pay for. That's a response. I remember that, who the book that's from. What else? Compared to what? Heard that one before? Yeah? What else?
You can't always look at the cost. What is it worth to you?
A lot less. But let me tell you, what's happening here is you're working so hard to come up with a way to do what? To get around the objection, to overcome it, aren't you? All traditional responses that people, when they hear that, what do? They go, I'm not being heard. Do you want to hear right from our program what we say in this response? How to diffuse that pressure and build that trust? Who wants to hear that? Yeah? Okay. When someone says to us, or says this, and one of my folks, your price is too high, in a conversation with people who've studied the CDs and get the mindset down, what they say is this. They say, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's the first thing. Don't worry, it's not over yet. You go, what? What are you saying now? Absolutely right. Here's the next phrase. You're absolutely right. It can be perceived as high if you haven't had a chance to experience what it's like to be a client of ours. No doubt about that. What's the key word there? Perceived as high. Would you be open to looking at this from a different perspective? What just happened there? What did I just take out of the moment? The pressure. To Aikido, reopen the conversation, right? What other words do you hear that I use in there? Would you be what? Open. That word replaces, would you be interested? Sales word. Would you like to explore the idea of? Would you be open? Why is open so different? It allows people to respond without pressure. Does that make sense so far? You get the concept, ladies and gentlemen? Remember when I mentioned to you about triggers, about rejection being created? One trigger is, I'm giving it to you right now, is languaging. The next trigger is, well, I'm asking you, what did you notice in the way I deliver my languaging about me? Tone. What else? Calm, centered, and pausing. Why is that important? Because I'm not creating momentum in that process, you see? What's interesting in sales, we're taught to love what we do. We love it so much we can't wait to do what? Tell everybody about it. But what happens if you're enthusiastic with someone who doesn't know you yet? What's created right there? The pressure. Does that make sense? So you learn in our program how to stay calm and centered, to be your natural self, not to have to push hard to create that flow. Does that make sense? You like the idea of being centered in an environment like that where you're authentic and being yourself and have to push anybody and have them buy from you? That's the beauty of Unlock the Game. And that's what I'm going to share with you today and give you more of right now. So in our program, we have every objection you can imagine laid out. And, of course, our handy-dandy little quick reference cards we have here. Everything you can imagine there. Even more. And cards our clients have right next to their phones to answer language by language, step by step. Let's try some more here. This, I think, you'll be very interested in. And it's going to shock a few of you. It's the problem statement. It's the fourth pillar of Unlock the Game. A problem statement is a bit different than what you're probably used to. How many of you or your sales teams are making outbound phone calls? Okay? Calling back, calling new prospects. And when you begin your calls, you probably start with what? An introduction, right? Hi, my name is, we are a, right? And of course, when the other person hears that, what do they do? Push back. You want to hear how in our program we train people to make these outbound calls, what our languaging is? To initiate that call? Here's how we do it. We say, hi, my name's Ari. I'm with XYZ if you want. And I'm hoping you can help me out for a moment. That's the beginning of the call. What do you suppose most people do in that response? What would they say? Sure, how can I help you? That begins the opening two-way dialogue at hello. That creates the trust because you're coming in a way where you're creating a two-way dialogue. And the next step from there is what I call a problem statement. It's the golden key that unlocks the needs of your clients. And the idea is it articulates their problem so clearly that a problem statement replaces your sales pitch. And from that, you become perceived as a consultant, as a trusted advisor. Want an example of this? All right, so I coach clients every day on this. I'll give you an example. I had a customer recently who's a business coach, okay? Here's an example of what I'm talking about. And he says to me, Ari, I do coaching, I'm calling on customers. So I said, what do you say on the phone? He says this. I'm a business coach that can help your business grow and be productive. That's his opening phrase. I went through a process with him and said to him, what's the core problem you help people solve? What's the core issue you help them solve? Because we've been trained when we sell to talk about who? Us. Our products. So after a process we went through with him, we determined he has one core problem he helps people solve, and that's this. This is how he begins his phone calls now. He says, I'm a business coach that focuses on preventing current clients from going to your competition. Is that more specific? And that gets, tell me more, or what do you mean? An initial phone call. It's like magic. And our process helps you, each one of you in this room has a core problem statement in you. We bring it out to give it to you in a way where you begin to enter the conversation with people, solving what? Their problems, rather than focusing on what? Your solutions. Make sense so far? Great. Quick, person to the left, right of you, one thing so far that's working for you. Real quick, to the left or right, one thing's working for you, you're enjoying it so far, it's working for you. So what's going through your mind right now? What are you thinking about? Let's help you on Monday. What are you thinking about? A couple ideas so far. Price is too high. What else? What's that? Nice. This is core. Is to know ahead of time what the core problem is of your customer. And people will say to me, well, Ari, how do I know that ahead of time? I'm calling brand new clients. A tip for you. If you go back and ask your customers, what are the top 3 problems that went away when you bought our solution? What are the top 3 problems from their view, in their words? They'll tell you what their core problems are. Does that make sense? And from that, you use one of the core ones to enter the conversation. This is hard for people because we're so used to talking about our solution. But you articulate it in a way with the pressure-free languaging wrapped around the problem statement, it's magical what can happen there. So you can use problem statements in almost every scenario. You can use it on outbound sales calls. Who gets leads from websites here? Call back leads from your website. Yeah? Call back your leads from websites. Call back referrals. How I got your name from John. And he mentioned some issues around problem statement. Makes sense? Face-to-face selling, clarity for sales copy, email communication. I asked earlier in the room how many people have kids in the room. An interesting thing, when I spoke last year at another event, somebody ran and bought my product and says to me, Ari, I'm not even in sales. I said, why are you buying my program? He says, because I've got teenage kids. I was like, what? I've got an 18-year-old son, and I'm going to use this with him. I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, let me know how it goes. He gets back to me 3 months later. Get a hold of this guy. He says, my son has been coming home late from curfew every night, past 11 o'clock. When he comes home, what I've been doing is saying, why are you late? Chastising him. Why are you always late? I've tried everything possible. And there's what going on there? He's putting what on him? Pressure. So I listened to your CDs, took your coaching, got the problem statement, and really absorbed this concept. And now, one night when he came home, he walks in the front door past curfew, and I said to him, son, and I thought about your mindset principles: diffuse pressure, get to the truth, and use languaging. He says, son, would you be open to the idea of us trying to solve this problem together? And his son says, are you on drugs, Dad? What has gone up with you? My God. What? This is not you. What the heck? And next thing they know, they're having this great open conversation, two-way communication going back and forth, and they both figure out a way to solve the problem. He has never, ever had such a great relationship with his son ever in his entire life. Is that a beautiful story? Because he figured out a way to connect with people at a level that's with authenticity.
Thank you for listening to the Magnetic Marketing Podcast with Dan Kennedy. If you love hearing in on these lost Dan Kennedy talks and speeches and calls, then please let someone else know about this podcast. That's how you can help it to grow. And the more it grows, the more free Dan Kennedy we can bring to you. Also, Dan would love to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to help you make maximum money in minimum time. Now, this free gift comes with almost $20,000 in pure money-making information for free just for saying maybe. You can get this gift from Dan right now at nobsletter.com. Not only will you get the $20,000 gift, you're also going to get a subscription to 2 marketing newsletters that will be hand-delivered by the mailman to your mailbox each and every month. One from Dan Kennedy and one from me, Russell Brunson. To get this gift and your subscription, go to nobsletter.com right now.